Hello, welcome to Machine Learning UML 501. My name is Sahil Sharma. I am assistant professor in CSED at Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology, Patiala. Let's begin the introduction to machine learning. So now machine learning is widely used in number of applications. When you are using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or maybe Amazon Prime, or Netflix, or Hotstar, or YouTube, so all of them are giving recommendations based on machine learning. Also, the search engines are ranking the pages of whatever query you are searching. The ranking is done based on some algorithms. Even the email providers such as Gmail is classifying the email as spam or not using machine learning at the back end. So why is machine learning so prevalent? Machine learning has grew out of artificial intelligence and it is moving towards the human intelligence. The new capabilities of the computers have touched many industries ranging from healthcare to automobile industry to the banking industry and also the surveillance industry. So there are many industry applications which have been impacted by machine learning, and generally these algorithms are designed to mimic the process of human brain. Arthur Samuel in 1959 coined this machine learning definition, which was machine learning is the field of the study that gives computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. So the best example is that you learned programming in, let's say, first year of your bachelor degree, and you programmed about prime numbers or Armstrong numbers. So those were the programs that you could do the hard code for. You were giving the input, and based on that some output was derived. The logic was written by you. But in machine learning, the example can be, let's say that you want to train a face recognition algorithm and you are given 10,000 people different images. So you cannot write one single program to classify every person's face, and you might need machine learning there to get the patterns out of it and to detect the name of the person from the image, and it cannot be explicitly programmed. So that is where we can take help of machine learning. So in 1950s, this Mr. Arthur played this checkerboard game. White objects and the 12 black objects, they were all placed at the black locations in the board, and he played tons of games against himself, and based on that he wrote the program, and the program learned over time that what are the good or the bad board positions where the person should take its object to win the game eventually. So Mr. Tom Marshall redefined the machine learning concept, and the definition was said to be a computer program is said to learn from experience E with respect to some class of task T and some performance measure P. If the performance on T as measured by P improves with the experience E. So it might looks tricky, but it's very easy. It's saying that let's say that you are playing some game, and over some experience, over multiple games you get some experience. Let's say that you are playing a basketball game, and you are trying to put the ball in the basket. That is your task, and with your experience your performance will improve. So the multiple factors for performance might be that you are taking how much time to hit the ball in the basket, and are you able to score a 2-pointer or a 3-pointer. So that's how we can measure the performance, and experience is the number of games you play. Eventually you will get better at scoring the ball in the basket. So that is a small example. So we are playing this checkerboard game only. The task is to play the checkerboard game. The experience is that you have played tens of thousands of games, and the performance is the probability to win the game against a new opponent. So that's how you performance that's how you measure the performance of the game. So there are multiple examples here now. Let's talk about stock price prediction. So this is one of the tasks that you want to do, and you have tens of thousands of examples in the previous years where the stock prices have been recorded, and let's say the starting price of the stock was rupees 10, and over time it grew, and with the multiple factors, let's say the number of employees in the company or the number of products that the company is selling, and there might be multiple factors for stocks. And same for the housing price prediction. uh, so similar to the stock price prediction, the housing price prediction can be done in which there are number of rooms, the area of the house, or the number of floors in the house, what is the crime rate around it, is there a school around your house, or maybe the market is there near your house. So all of those factors are there for the housing price prediction. And the performance is that how close are the predicted prices to the actual prices measured in the term of a number of metrics such as mean error, root mean square error. So these statistical methods are applied to calculate the performance. Let's say that you predicted that some house was 50 lakh rupees, but the actual price of that house was let's say 55 lakh rupees. So there was this error of 5 lakh rupees, and we will say that yes, 5 lakh divided by 55 lakh, that's the percentage of error when the prediction is being done. Let's say now the task is the image segmentation or a breast cancer detection, or even you want to emojify an image. Experience will be that you have different labeled objects for the image segmentation, and let's say there is this region of interest ROI area for breast cancer detection, and even for this cartoon or emojify thing you have different moods in the image. So all of those things are labeled. The performance will be that whether or not the image is properly segmented or the classification has been done in the right manner or not. So for the classification there are multiple parameters. There are precision and recall, and there is a specificity, sensitivity, accuracy, F1 score. So there are multiple evaluation metrics that you can apply for the classification purposes. Now let's say you want to design a learning system. There are multiple factors that you want to go through. There are multiple steps to design a learning system. The first one is to choose the training experience. What will be the experience on which you want to make your model learn? What are the target functions? So generally there is only one target function, but there are also multi-objective functions in the advanced machine learning. When you are choosing a representation for the target function, there might be the case that you have the values between 0 to 100 or maybe 0 to 1. So based on that you want to choose a representation of the target function. So what kind of values you want to target, you want to predict. So choosing the function approximation algorithm. The simplest example can be linear regression. You want to convert this 2D graph into, let's say, 1D. So what you can do is that you can fit a straight line, and then you can find how much away are all the points from this line. So you will drop one line from here, one from here, and similarly others, and you will try to find what's the distance. Let's say this was 1 unit, that 0.5 are 3 points, this is also 0.5, so there are 3.5s, 3 ones. So what you can do is you can add this, which is 4.5. so this is the total deviation, this is the total error you can say that this is the total error value, and in a way you have presented this point on this line at this point with error of 1. Similarly this is also being projected to this point. This point is also being projected to this point with error of 1. So all the points have been projected on a single line with a total error of 4.5. Fine. And this 4.5 is the error value for the function approximation, because you are trying to approximate a y equal to mx plus c equation where you want to represent a 2D graph on a single line. So this is the simplest form of understanding how function approximation algorithm works, and based on that you will get the final design also. So moving ahead, let's say that you want to choose the training experience, whether the training experience provides the direct or the indirect feedback. So the feedbacks might be different. They may be direct, they may be indirect, and based on that you might want to choose the training experience. For the, let's say that for the board of checker game, direct training experience will be individual checker board states, that where the state of the object is on that checkerboard, and also what is the correct move. So that might be the direct training example. And for the indirect examples, you may say that what should be the move sequences and what will be the final outcome of the game. So there are two things here. One of the thing is that you can do it through a random process, or maybe you can use the training examples. So this is how you want to make the learner control the sequence of training, and how will the training experience represents the distribution of examples over the final system performance. So these are the three main factors for choosing the training experience. Now let's say that you want to choose the target experience also. uh, so this is the function v, and uh, we are defining the function in a way that the board state b is being projected, uh, is being used to get the real value r, where v is mapping b to r, and the target function v is intended to assign better scores to better board states. So the target function selection, it reduces the learning task to the problem of discovering an ideal target function. So that ideal target function, here v is one of the function approximation, because you want to minimize the error. The target is to minimize the error, and you want to get, and you want to define the function in a way that b is being mapped to r in this problem, but yes, you want to assign the v in a way that you are getting the best work in the least amount of cost. So choosing a representation of the target function, we must choose a representation that the learning system will use to describe the target function. We may allow the program to represent b as as a large table with a distinct entry specifying the value for each distinct board state. So let's take this example: vb equal to w0 plus w1 x1 w2 x2. So you can imagine this as, let's say that there were some points. Let's say there were these 6 points, and you thought of training the model by covering all the points. What you will do is you will cover every point, you will go to every point, and you will try to cover all the points in a way that yes, you are covering all of them, and also you are able to do the training on these points. Maybe you are overfitting, or you are getting more error eventually in the testing stage, but for the training part you are training it over time, and you are training for all points. And for every curve, let's say there is one variable. So this is one point, this is one more curve, this is one more curve, this is one more curve. So there are 4 points, and you can define this curve using 4 points. What you will say is, you have this equation w0 plus w1 x1 plus w2 x2 plus w3 x3 and w4 x4. Why till x4? Because I said that we have 4 curves, and for every curve we have one variable. So just imagine the complexity that increases by using more variables. So similarly, we can say that in this equation there are 6 variables of x1 to x6. w1, w2, w3 up to w6 are my weights. w1 to w6 are the weights, and w0 is my bias value. So these bias and weights are my parameters. When we say that we have to train our model, you have to train the parameters. So parameters are bias and weights. So eventually, let's say that you are training, and you are doing 100 iterations. For every iteration, this equation will be generated based on the points, and so all the points are being tried. And for over 100 iterations, what you will do is you want to train your model in a way that this equation fits with the least amount of error. So to get the values of w0 to, so for getting the values of w0 to w6 in a way that yes, it is actually working for you to get the least error, these values are updated every time with every iteration. So for first iteration these values might be different, and for 10th it might be different, and similarly till 100 they are trained. So over time all the values of w0 to w6 are being updated, the parameters are being updated. So that's what we call training, and that's how you get the value of the function which you need to minimize over the error. So choosing a function approximation algorithm, now you want to choose a function approximation algorithm that is getting you the least error. So let's say that you form this let's say that you form this pair of B and V train B. It means that B is my board state, B is a particular board state, and V train B is the corresponding training value. So while making your own data set, you are generating this two columns where you are trying to use these two values. Let's say for different B's you have different B trains, and based on that you can say that yes, this is the right move or the wrong move, and the classification can be done in the form of 1 0 1 1 1 0. So these kind of classifications can be done in a way that yes, this step is the right one, this is the wrong one. So that's how you do the training with this different kind of data set. And so then you have to adjust the weights also, that I have already mentioned in the previous slides, that let's say that there are multiple iterations, the first iteration versus the 10th iteration versus the 100th iteration. They will all have different weights. So initially your weights might be different till reaching final value, till reaching final iteration the weights might get updated. So W0 to W6 gets updated when we reach the 100th iteration. And there is this method, you can do a hypothesis method in which you may define a particular array of values. Let's say that you are using these values up to 7 of W0 to W6. So this is your hypothesis, and based on that you may or may not get the best error rate. But yes, there are multiple methods. So one of the algorithm is least mean square, and using this you might reduce the error. So there is this updation rule. What you need to do is you need to have this data set of B and V train B. Using the current weight, you can estimate the value of V hat B. So this is the predicted value. So this is the predicted value, and this is the update rule. So the new weight will be equal to the initial weight, whatever it is, plus alpha into V train B minus V hat B, that's actual value minus the predicted value, into x of I. So that's our variable with which we want to train. So this is the way to update W for the LMS. So this is how the final design looks like. Let's say that this is my experiment generator, and we have this new problem of initial game board, and based on some performance evaluation metrics, you might have the game history also, and then my critic is there. What does critic do? Critic will judge your solution and give you the error value, and based on that you might decide to change the value of the weights, and you might want to try new weights. So that kind of thing can be decided through the training examples, and the generalizer will give you the hypothesis. Hypothesis might be that you are taking your own values, and it might be on the basis of the feedback the critic has given. So that's how our final design looks like. So there are some issues in machine learning also. What learning algorithms exist for learning general target functions from specific training examples? So we don't know the exact algorithms unless we train our model. We cannot say that yes, this algorithm is the best one. You have to train it, you have to do the function approximation, and then only you can say that yes, this algorithm is good or bad, and in what settings will the particular algorithm coverage to the desired function. So the data sufficiency is always a factor in which you may have to work on data, and then only you can decide that yes, this data is enough or not. There might be some cases that you are very clear about the data, and you can easily train your model, but yes, in some cases data might be missing, and you have to take care of missing values. Which algorithms perform best for which type of problems and representations? How much training data is sufficient? When and how can prior knowledge held by the learner guide the learning process of generalizing from examples. So last point is talking about that how the experience of the machine learning engineer can help the program to learn the things better, and different issues are there. The data set might be sufficient or not, and we do not know the actual algorithm if it is the best or not, so you have to try different models to get the work done. So what is the best way to reduce the learning task to one or more function approximation problems? In other words, what specific functions should the system attempt to learn? Can the process of learning target function be automated? So these are the different methods. So these are the different issues in machine learning where you have to work with the training function, the target function, the approximation function. So all these things have to be considered before finalizing the algorithm. And the applications are broad. Automatic driving is one of the uh, application. You might have seen Tesla's self-driving cars, and also Zoox self-driving car. Zoox is a company acquired by Amazon in 2020 now, but they are also working on automatic driving. Handwriting recognition, NLP, natural language processing, and the computer vision are one of the most famous applications of machine learning. Self-customized programs have example of Amazon Prime, let's say, and even Netflix and even Hotstar. So all those kind of websites are using customized machine learning algorithm in a way that they can recommend you the movies or the TV series that you want to watch and you have seen previously. So based on some parameters, they can recommend you the better options for watching now. And in data mining also there are applications of machine learning. There you have where you have the web click data, medical records, biology, engineering. So all those kind of data sets are there, and you want to get some insights out of it. So machine learning can help there. So the brain of a human can also be better understood if you are working in machine learning or AI domain. When you are training the models, you have to understand yourself first, and then you can get a new algorithm out of it. Maybe you want to generate your new algorithm. So that's all in this first lecture. Thank you.